Hi, I'm going to give you feedback on your draft here with using a screen capture, see, and my voiceover narrating it. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to look at your formatting and your APA formatting. You're missing your page numbers, so those need to be inserted in. You don't want to manually insert them on each page. You need to go in and do insert page number, and it should be the number 3, the upper right hand corner. Be aware that when you put that page number in automatically, you are going to lose this part of your running head and have to re-enter it. So it's going to be kind of a pain, but you need to fix all of those. As far as your level 1, level 2 headers, they all look fine. Margins and spacing look fine. On your reference page, however, there's only one reference, so you can go ahead and take that S off if you want to. Number 2, the 333, which is the volume of the British Medical Journal, that actually needs to be italicized, just like the title of the journal is. But other than that, everything else looks fine here on your reference page. Your in-text citations, we're just going to take a quick look through them. Let's see, that one was fine. That one is fine. Trying to see if you have any paraphrased information. So far, mostly you have direct quotes. Okay, so here's everything you have seems to be so far is direct quotes. Usually I worry about paraphrased information simply because sometimes people don't give a signal phrase and it's hard to tell where it starts. But yours looks fine, so that's excellent. The next thing that I have to tell you, I'm going to look through your paper real quick. Your thesis statement is great. I love your choice of advocate for the legalization. I think that's excellent. Good choice of words. Everything that's supposed to be in the thesis statement is in there. You don't have to do this and list everything she uses. You can, but you don't need to. But a couple things about the intro. One is this paper will discuss. Take that out. Seriously, don't ever put this in another paper again. Saying that this paper is something you want, a habit you want to break yourself of, because then you're basically directly addressing the audience and it's sort of a first person type thing. Not only that, but you don't need to tell them that this paper is going to discuss that, because your thesis statement should be clear enough. I mean, from your thesis statement, your audience should know what is going to be discussed in your paper. That's the purpose of the thesis statement. So you don't ever need to have anything like this again. What you do need in your intro paragraph that's not in here is you need to tell me what article you're talking about and where it was published. So you say that Friedman successfully persuades her audience to advocate how using her through her writing techniques, but you don't tell me where this is coming from, what you are referring. So there really needs to be, before your thesis statement, some sort of introductory information about who Emil Friedman is, the title of the article, and where it was published. Then you can go into what you have here. So give some of that information right here before your thesis statement. Okay. Looking at the rest of your paper, Friedman does. I'm just kind of reading this to myself as I'm going through. Friedman does an excellent job of proving claim of policy. Okay. Claim of policy is further substantiated when she concludes that these issues have made the wait times for transplants intolerable. Okay, this looks pretty good. Don't say makes us. It's her audience. Always refer to her audience, not us. We are not her audience. So, and then that also becomes second person, because every time you say you, it's second person. Us, I guess, would be sort of a third person, because you're including you and the audience together. So you need to take anything like that out. She says as long as we can provide the solution both. Okay. Here we say this solution both satisfies the need for shorter waiting periods. Now, this is your commentary on what she's on the information, but this is not an analysis of what she's saying. And I know that this is a sort of a difficult paper for a lot of people to write, but you can't be saying things like this in the paper. What you need to be looking at in the paper is you need to be looking at how does the audience respond to what it is she's saying? So if you say the solution to the problems that Friedman has expressed in her article is legalizing payment for living donors. Friedman states that as long as we can provide, not again we, a legitimate and ethical payment to a donor, then exploitation can be prevented and both donors and recipients can be treated equitably. Great. And would be my question mark. I have an and question mark if I were grading it right now. Is this enough to convince her audience that her solution is viable and that it's acceptable? And I would say, no, you haven't given us enough information. Yes, this is her solution, but how does she convince her audience that her solution is going to work and that it's ethically acceptable? That's where your analysis comes in. That's that deeper level of thinking and critical thinking and the things that you're going to have to put in here. So let's look at another section, pathos. One of the other writing techniques Friedman uses to persuade her audience is her use of pathos. Okay, good. That's a good topic sentence, so we know exactly what's coming. Friedman appeals to, again, her audience's sense of shame. That would be fine. Maybe guilt. Friedman states that many people benefit from a transplantation. First and foremost, the recipient receives the biggest benefit. Most recipients' lives are saved and their quality of life is significantly. Okay, now when you say most recipients' lives are saved and their quality of life is improved significantly, it sounds like you are making that comment. So maybe what you need to do is give me a signal phrase here, paraphrase what, which could just pretty much what you're doing, and so you're paraphrasing what Friedman is saying to her audience, and then give the parenthetical citation. Then you have, and then you could say, through this, Friedman successfully evokes the feelings of shame to persuade her audience to join her side of the argument. Okay, what you need to do is, how does that make them feel shame? And like I would think a better term might be guilt. And why does that persuade them to join her side of the argument? So it's those two pieces that you need to explain how this is an example of pathos, how and why Friedman uses it, how does it affect the audience, and how does that help persuade her audience. If you remember, let me see if I can find it here really quickly, that I gave you a grade sheet, and it had all of these different things to look at, like all the things I'm going to look at when I'm grading your paper number 1. So look under Unit 1, Paper 1, and there should be a grade sheet for Paper 1. And under there, it even gives you what you need to talk about, where it says, how is this an example of that writing technique? How and why does Friedman use it to persuade her audience, etc., etc. All of those little things, you need to make sure you're answering all of those questions. Now, don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm totally doing this paper wrong, because you're not. Almost every student is exactly where you are right now with your draft. This is those last few things, is that deeper part of the analysis is where most students, that's what most students are omitting from their paper at this point. That last step. And traditionally, and I've taught this type of a paper for a long time, and I would say 75% of students turn this type of a thing in for their first draft. So you're fine. Just make sure that you complete it, and that's probably what make sure you apply that to the rest of your paper, because most likely you're going to have that same issue over and over again. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. You can always call me or come in and see me, and good luck with your final draft.